Agriculture is the mainstay of Nigeria's economy, with about 70% of Nigerians depending on agriculture for their livelihoods. However, many farmers face challenges in growing enough crops to support their families and communities. Limited access to irrigation infrastructure is one major barrier. For decades, lack of irrigation and water management has plagued agriculture in Nigeria. Farmers rely heavily on seasonal rains, which are increasingly unpredictable. Prolonged dry spells lead to destroyed crops and soaring food prices. Policies have remained a fundamental instrument that provides a roadmap for government at all levels to achieve its goals. Nigeria, over the years, has developed various policies, plans, and programs related to irrigation and drainage. Nigeria developed a National Water Resources Master Plan in the 1990s, which included irrigation and drainage policy components. In 2012, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources published a National Irrigation and Drainage Strategy and Roadmap to expand irrigation. This later led to an official consolidated policy document titled National Irrigation and Drainage Policy, which was published in 2015. Again, in 2020, Nigeria launched a partnership with the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, to formulate a National Irrigation Development Plan to expand irrigation. Nigeria is aiming to transform its agricultural sector and bolster food security for its rapidly growing population. This policy intended to address 8 key problem areas, which include 1. Low agricultural productivity, income, and returns from investment. 2. Low capacity for regulation, coordination, operation, and provision of support services. 3. Low inclusiveness of users of land and water resources. 4. Inappropriate funding mechanism and low private sector participation. 5. Environmental imbalance and lack of sustainability. 6. Underutilization of land and water resources. 7. Low capacity for research and development and low accessibility to improved technologies to support irrigation development and sustained growth. And lastly, 8. Low capacity for data generation and information management and use. Likewise, there are 8 policy objectives or thrusts that are proposed to address with a view to achieving accelerated and sustained irrigation development in Nigeria, and they are efficient performance, viability and competitiveness, good governance and enhanced services, socioeconomic and cultural inclusion, responsive funding mechanism and effective private sector participation, responsible production and sustainable development, efficient resource utilization and rapid irrigation growth, improved capacity for generation of and accessibility to as well as uptake of innovations, and lastly, improved capacity for sustainable data generation, management, and use. The strategy for implementing this set of policy objectives include addressing prominent issues of good governance, resource utilization, socioeconomic and cultural inclusion, funding mechanism, and effective participation, sustainable production, amongst others. Today, we shall be looking at the policy objectives holistically. I am Lydia Odidiochi. Thank you for joining us. Before we continue on our topic for today, here is the news update.
The Coalition of Northern Youths have made a call on the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies (NIPSS) Kuru to support the humanitarian advocacy campaign against terrorism and other social vices ravaging the north and the country at large. This call was made during a courtesy visit on the Director General (NIPSS), Professor Ayo Omotayo at Kuru, Jos, Plateau State. Speaking at the meeting, the president and leader of the delegation, Comrade Nladi Ilias, said the visit was necessary in order to celebrate the DG's unique leadership style and unmerged contribution to nation building. He pleaded for both mentorship and financial support for the campaign against terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, drug abuse, and other social vices bedeviling the North in recent times.
And we say there's no better time than now for us to come and identify with you and encourage you that what you're doing, the world is seeing you. And if we don't come and identify ourselves with people like you and appreciate you, we might end up being with people who do not deserve to be appreciated, who do not deserve to be honored. It was on that regard that during our 13th National Executive Council meeting, we agreed unanimously that we will reach out to you and graciously we were able to agree. And that's why we are here. So I would like to call on the Director of Program and the North Central Coordinator to take us briefly on his speech on the conference.
Again. This is a secretarial speech presented to you, Professor Ayo Omotayo, that's the Samuel Bello Sodona Distinguished Leadership Award 2024. Distinguished honoree, other eminent personalities here present, delegate of Coalition of Northern Youth Forum of Nigeria, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It has been ascertained by knowledgeable authorities that greetings and best wishes are the most intrinsic convention of humanistic embodiment. Based on this eclectic synopsis, I want to welcome you to this very important occasion of conferring honor on a man who they can fit so well. Pilot, an icon, a colossus, an uncommon mentor, a legend, an undefeatable team leader, an excellent team player, a natural representative of our generation, Professor Ayo Omotayo. It's been years since the untimely demise of our founding fathers, torchbearers, pathfinders, quintessential gentlemen, foremost nationalists and Pan-Africanists. Both their legacies as well as their sacrifices remain reference points in history of leadership in Nigeria, Africa, and the world ever. For avoidance of doubt, the Coalition of Northern Youth Forum of Nigeria is the apex umbrella of youth cutting across the 19 northern states and FCT Abuja respectively, with the shared vision of one people, one common destiny, as exemplified by our founding fathers of the northern Nigeria, most especially those from the northern extraction, such as Sir Ahmed Bello, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Joseph Turka, Malan Aminu Kano, Sunday Awonoyi, etc. May their souls rest in peace. Let me quote the word of Sir Ahmed Bello, which states, subject to the overriding need to preserve law and order, it is our determination that everyone should have absolute liberty to practice his belief according to the dictate of his conscience. Sir Ahmed Bello Distinguished Leadership Award was conceived by Coalition of Northern Youth Forum of Nigeria as a befitting gesture to honor worthy individuals whose attainment in life have impacted positively on the life of the citizenry and a way of encouraging them to do more. Today, we are once again before a foremost icon of national and international repute, a man that can be termed the solution to the puzzle called leadership distinction. It was John Quincy Adams who once said, and I quote, "If your actions inspired others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." To the teeming population of Nigerian youth, especially those of the northern extraction, Professor Ayo Omotayo is not just a mentor and a role model, but a personality with integrity and unique hallmark, which will for a very long time define the phrase "a light at the end of the tunnel." He was given so many years of exceptional leadership in building the nation.
While addressing the delegation, the DG expressed sadness over the lack of intellectual contribution of the youths in solving national issues and called on them to be intentional and conscious of the decisions they make, adding that the role of Nigerian youths in nation building is critical.
Prof, how many times have we asked Nigerian youths who come here to visit to say, put yourself together, tell us what exactly you think we can do that will be viable and help your life. All they want is give us money and let us disappear. I said, you are going to keep wandering in the ocean and you'll be moved by the waves anyhow. Then why would anybody come back? They don't ever come back. To say, let's leverage. Even when I told the youth that came, I said, bring 4 or 5 persons, let us train them in IT and end up giving them a job in our IT or even start up something like that. I'm an IT person. They didn't come back.
The DG was awarded the title of Jakadan Zaman Lafiya, meaning Ambassador of Peace, accompanied with a Medal of Honor in recognition of his great achievements and contributions to nation building.
Silver and gold we have now, but to us in northern Nigeria, these portraits mean a lot. So this Samuel Bello, and we thought it went well to put in his shoe, because you know what you have done to our nation, Nigeria, and what you're still doing. So say that we should call your attention, continue to do what you're doing. Coalition of Other Youth Forum of Nigeria, certificate of credence presented to Professor Ayo Director General, Director General, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, as Jakadan Zaman Lafiya, icon and finisher of nation building. This is in recognition and appreciation of your immense contribution towards youth empowerment, philanthropy, human transformation, educational development, and prudent management of human and material resources for the benefit of humanity and the country at large.
Jakadan Zaman Lafiya means Ambassador of Peace.
The institute is poised to partner with the youth on a brainstorming session with other youth representatives from the 6 North Central states as a way of finding lasting solutions to the issues at hand. Vaku Ambi, reporting for NIPSS Policy TV.
It's new, it's fresh, it's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV Channel 419, GoTV Channel 26, Star Times Channels 101 and 433, and Free TV Channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us. Welcome back to our topic today on Policy Focus. We will be looking at how National Policy on Irrigation and Drainage Act 2015 will help Nigerians achieve an additional irrigation landmass spread of 500,000 hectares of farmland by 2030, and also key into President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's agenda for food security. How can we use drainage infrastructure to mitigate flooding, soil erosion, and other climate change impacts? How much impact have successive Nigerian governments had on irrigation and drainage infrastructure policies to support farmers? To address these and more, we have an expert who is extensively versatile on the issue to provide answers to these pertinent questions. We shall be talking to him in a moment. Stay with us. The speedy encroaching climate change is intensifying floods and droughts, triggering alarm bells for food security. Now, without immediate action, Nigeria stares at imminent severe famines in the coming decades. What would be your advice towards this end?
Multifaceted approach that we could use, approaches. By virtue of my profession, I have suggested in various ways and means, including in publication, the need for a comprehensive outlook into water needs and the water opportunities that we have in Nigeria. It will interest you that we have, across the nation, we have high volume of water, surface water, entering this country as a result of rainfall, as a result of River Benue and River Niger. So we need more of river harvesting to retain this water. In fact, large volume of most of the surface water ends up in the Atlantic Ocean. So imagine the water coming from River Benue that is causing flooding in Lokoja. And then imagine that Taraba is one of the food baskets in Nigeria. This river passed through Taraba, Benue. Why can't we dam it there? Long time ago, there are plans to have a dam around that area. Okay. But it has not seen the light of the day. So imagine that it is properly dammed, Taraba, Adamawa, then Borno is on the head of it. Imagine that we channel that water. If we can pipe crude oil from Niger Delta to Kaduna, to Gombe, to Maiduguri, we can pipe water from anywhere around Benue to across that axis to Borno.
Anything is possible when the will and the way and the funds.
That is exactly what I'm saying. The same thing with River Niger. Passes through KB, part of mostly KB Niger. And Sokoto is responsible for most of the onions and so on. A lot of large expanse of land over there. That water can be pumped into Sokoto for agricultural activity. I'm talking about surface water. We have not talked about groundwater that we have in surplus. So we are a water nation. And in fact, water is already causing conflict in our nation. So we need to be pragmatic and proactive as far as water is concerned. We have subscribed to the issue of political will and sustain political commitments to our plans and policies. I mean, where do you want us to start from? Do you know that the whole port congestion can be removed with dredging from Warri down to Kogi? That Lokoja, in fact, that was the reason why the government put in place Nigerian Navy office around Lokoja. Because the idea is smaller vessels can convey goods and services, goods from Warri port down to Lokoja. So completely Lagos port will be decongested if dredging. And then don't forget, our rivers, we have a challenge with our rivers in most of our African countries because of the fact there are rocks in our river. So if you say dredging, it is dredging. If it is just desiltation, removal of just the sand, it could be easier. But when you now want to crack the rock and so on and so forth, if I don't forget that Nigerian Inland Waterways Agency was created for this particular, go and check their statutory responsibility, is to dredge. And this agency, they always have year in, year out budget. I don't know about the release. So practically, we have agency to take care of the silting and dredging of Nigerian rivers. We have not been able to do it because of lack of political commitment. And we must see it as a focus. If you want to participate in the new economy, and if you want to be among the G7, We have to dredge. It will contain a lot of water, and then flooding will reduce as a result of that.
I think I may need to come in here. You're talking about plans of building dams in the past. Now, dredging has always been an issue, and now I want you to react to this. If we have lacked or we've not been doing dredging, which we're supposed to do, how can we talk about building dams? How is that possible or feasible? Challenge over the years. In your opinion, what percentage should be budgeted for irrigation and drainage to achieve this mandate?
I want to subscribe to private partnership. As small as I am, I have seen the fact that it's becoming, almost impracticable for public agencies to manage these things that we're talking about. These are huge infrastructure that must be commercialized and must be appropriately utilized. I think I subscribe to the idea of private sector driving the irrigational development in the country.
Okay.
So let them build it. Let them farm. Let them use the water for farming. And then, let them pay some money to the coffers of the government. As that will be the benefit for the government. Let them pay their taxes and so on. Let it be driven by the private sector. That is my own subscription.
Due to the fact that several ministries and agencies responsible for implementing this policy, weak institutional capacity has created overlapping mandates across ministries and agencies. Do you think the level of government coordination and supervision is sufficient?
No, it is not sufficient. And that is the reason why we are saying perhaps we need to also go back to the drawing board. What is the essence of the ministries? Are they actually the ministry have to develop the policies, the plans, and then regulation, the MDAs, they have to regulate. I think we should allow them to do that work. Develop the policy, develop the plans, then regulate. Let the players be private sector driven. That will minimize, in fact, that will remove the idea of I will do your work. Why would I need to do your work? Interagency rivalry. It will reduce it because we are not even doing any capital work. What we are doing as a ministry is to develop policy, develop plan, then regulate the people that are in the field. It will reduce. But when I now build, look at it, Ministry of Water Resources will build dam. Ministry of Power, immediately that same dam is used for electricity, it becomes the property of Ministry of Power. Are you getting it? So the water there can be used for electricity, that is Ministry of Power. If you want to use the same water for irrigation, that is Ministry of Agriculture. It is not within the purview of Ministry of Power to use the water for irrigation. So Ministry of Agriculture must come in to now say, okay, release the water for agricultural activity. And it must be in line with the mind of Ministry of Power. Because the level of water needed to drive power production must not reduce. If the Ministry of Power is threatened by virtue of, if I release this water for irrigation, we will not be able to get electricity, he will say no. He will say no, you cannot pump water for irrigation. This water must be for electricity. And so electricity production is having issues with agricultural productivity. There are sometimes we have surplus water. That time, farmers will not need water from the dam because God will have provided the rainfall for them. During the dry season, the water level will reduce. And so they want to sustain the water level to be able to drive the power generation. Unfortunately, we have not been using newer technology that require small amount of water. The NESCO here in Jos is using small hydro to generate electricity that we are using in Jos. But you cannot compare it with that of Kanji or Jeba or Shiroro. And we have not been able to adopt solar, tidal, wind in Nigeria. I mean, I cannot understand why we have Atlantic Ocean from Badagry to Cross River and Lagos, the whole southwest, the whole of the southern part of Nigeria should be on tidal energy, should be on wave energy. There's never been a time that energy, that wave is not rolling on top of the coast. So we are still expecting water from Kanji Dam. So the water level must not get lowered. If it gets lowered, we will not have water from Kanji.
Many irrigation facilities provided by past government investments fell into disrepair due to insufficient resources for regular maintenance. Do you think we lacked funding totally, or it was just a question of misplaced priorities?
It's a question of misplaced priority. It's a question of our maintenance culture. They used to call it maintenance culture.
Yes.
And the commitment, of the political people,
Stakeholders.
to the development of that sector. I mean, we really need to look at our infrastructure in place. There are some that are being used. I've been to Zamfara, I saw Bakolori Dam being used. I know the Tiga Dam in Kano is being used, but there are more of them that are not being used. Adija Dam is being used in Jigawa, and so on and so forth. But the point is, they are at lower level of, and it is mostly as a result of what we have identified. And more importantly, the right set of people managing the infrastructure is important. Not everything can be done politically. You cannot say because I like you, I now place you where you will underperform. Let the right set of people, irrespective of where they come from, be placed in the right place. We need this to be emphasized more. And this maintenance culture, what is maintenance culture? So if I build a personal house, I will not maintain it. Is that what you are telling me? I am maintaining my own house. So that is why we are emphasizing that. Let private sector drive it.
Okay.
Then we will see a change.
We're now in 2024. People are already worried about how we can achieve irrigation and drainage landmass spread of 500,000 hectares of farmland by 2030 as targeted by the policy in 2015. Dr. Oke, is this still feasible?
Yeah, it is feasible to the extent of having a change of mind today by those in the public offices. Let us have a change of mind. Let us now set it as a focus and then back it up with action. Then we will achieve it. It is achievable. Let us expand our horizon, incorporate people that are ready to do. It will interest you that there are people that are interested in expanding the irrigation facility in the country and making use for business activity. We went on a local study tour to Adamawa, and we saw how Dangote was able to transform former savannah sugar into, in fact, not only sugar production, but energy production with molasses from sugarcane. So when private sector handles certain things, especially those that are fully interested in it, not politically minded, I mean private sector that is really interested in the irrigation facility development and the use. If they rightly take it up, you will see that we will achieve even more than that. It will interest you that we have land mass. We have land mass. We have this. In fact, one of the challenges that we might have, what about community people saying that they don't want their areas to be used for irrigation? No. Immediately we engage this community. They see what's in need in the policy for them. They will support. Nigerians are easy to be convinced. in as much as they can see what we are doing and they know it is private driven. Like the sugar I was talking about, Dangote, there was a backward integration. A lot of farmers are even supplying sugarcane for the same company, and many of them are now are benefiting immensely from it. So, one, we will achieve that more than 500,000. In fact, we can even achieve our goal, provided that we change our perception. Let the private sector drive it. Let government provide enabling environment. Then we will achieve it.
Finally, tell us, what are the strengths and weaknesses of government policies on irrigation and drainage system, and what would be your recommendations?
The strength of it is that the policy is in place. The policy has been able to, on a serious note, put in place what's supposed to be in terms of expertise needed, in terms of infrastructure, to some extent in terms of inclusiveness. Okay, climate change has been factored into it. The need to take care of the drought has been factored into it. So human resources need as a factor into the policy. So those are strengths. The weakness is what we are still talking about. Because if weaknesses are from inward, then we must be talking about our human capacity, human capital development. How many irrigation engineers do we have in Nigeria? How many water resources hydrologists, experts do we have in Nigeria? How many of them are being used at the right place? How many electrical engineers, how many mechanical engineers, how much of these machines that we are going to use for irrigation activity are being produced in Nigeria? So we are still looking for irrigation facility by importing, using the same dollar that we said is crashing. So that is both threat. The dollar forest is a threat. The weakness of human capacity is within us, although we have National Institute for Water Resources. So that is a strength for us. We have it. But the weakness there is that how many of these experts are being employed even in our River Basin Authority. Talk less of managing our dams. Talk less of managing our Ministry of Water Resources. So it is a weakness. Then we have great opportunities. We have water. We have rainfall. I mean, to a large extent, God has been very gracious to us. We have land. And we have people that are ready to cooperate and collaborate. Fine. One of our threats is insecurity, especially from outside the country. We have internal challenges, which will be one of our weaknesses. But the point is, they can be managed.
Thank you, Dr. Murtala Ika, PhD in Water Resources Management, Senior Fellow, Directorate of Research, NIPSS Kuru. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with me.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
when you go to the rural areas, what they make use of is the manual or the artificial irrigation, in which they make use of or they drill boreholes. That's the local way. They buy a little engines, then drill things like that. So if the government can look into it and maybe create a large-scale water system that will accommodate a large community or a large farm, I think it will help as well. Then, whether we like it or not, farmers are suffering because of the high prices in fertilizer, in the farm equipment and the rest. So if they will be subsidized farmers' equipment, mechanized equipment, it could be giving us loan, and at the same time it could be giving us a grant, maybe to just help subsidize the stress farmers are going through at the moment. So I think if all these things is achieved, it will help greatly.
I think what government can do is to provide more, let's say, a little bit of would I say, an equipment to kind of help the farmers. Like, during dry season, what farmers make use of, maybe in rural places, what they make use of, they don't really have a drainage system where it can help them to water their plants and the irrigation and all of that. So if government can help them in providing more drainage system, creating more ways, creating more channels properly, it will really go a long way to farmers, especially in rural places where they don't really have opportunities like urban cities have. So the farmers, if government can help out in creating more drainages system, basically, let's say educating the farmers too. Yes, educating the farmer more about, because some farmers don't really know about irrigation, drainage system and more of that. They don't really know. So I'll go with more of education and then also providing them the systems, the channel systems that will lead to that.
The government should construct more dams, and then the existing ones should not be left like that. It should be on a check to ascertain the level of water so that it won't just dry off completely. And then construction of drainages, because I believe not all plants require a whole lot of water. So I think drainages should be constructed so that the waterways will be good.
I'm one person that believes that everything is possible with planning. I studied in Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, so I am familiar with the north, and I can categorically tell you that the colonial northern leaders, Ahmadu Bello, Tafawa Balewa, had serious plans for all these irrigation stuffs. If you go to the north, you see artificial dams. Aside from the artificial dams, there are drainage systems that actually tap from those dams down to people's farms. It was well planned. It was not just like that, you understand? It's just, okay, Jang started something like that, former governor. If you check, there are some dams that they are properly, you understand? Although they are tin mining site, but they decided to convert them to become proper dams so that it will aid in irrigation. You just need more of those dams. It's just a connection. Connect dams to small drainages that will take this water to, and it's the soil. Once it goes down, it will still come back. You understand? So it's just planning. Plan the dams, plan the drainages, and channel them to the proper places where irrigation is, and Plateau State will be green all throughout the year.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
The advice to the youth is that they need to be focused. Everything that is good comes with sacrifice. They need to be prepared for sacrifice. They don't need to leave the country. Nigeria is still the best country to make it.
Hello and thanks for joining us. This is Alumni Chat and I am Chana Ejoga. Today our guest is none other than Dr. Steve Olusegun Ogidon MNI, who is the Managing Director of Successful Nigerian Limited. He is a development planner and also into the agricultural space. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So please, can you tell us what is your background as a development planner?
Thank you. I am a development planner, I'm a strategist, and I also do a lot of work in agricultural space. I do training, research, and strategy, and we work across Africa. Wow. We have representative offices in about 5 countries, but most of the time we're in Abuja.
So tell me, how did you get to come to the National Institute?
I was nominated by the President of the Federal Republic to come to the National Institute. And I was supposed to have come a year before. But when I look at the opportunity cost, I felt it was too high for me to come and spend almost a year at the National Institute. But again, I was encouraged by my mentor. And then I decided to take the leap of faith. But it became the most strategic move I've ever made in my life. It was a great experience for me. And after 3 months at the National Institute, I knew it was the right place for me to be.
So can you tell us, when you were here, what was your experience as a participant?
Yes, my experience as a participant, one, I made new friends. I met new people. And before I came to the National Institute, as a consultant, I choose my client. I decide where I want to work, where I don't want to work. But when I got to the National Institute, I'm forced to work with some people, and I forced to work with my study group, and I learned a lot of things, especially how to be patient. Before, I was very intolerant in dealing with people, but again, I learned a lot of things, why government does what it does, why policies often happen the way it happens. And a major lesson for me is the realization that most of the time, we really don't know what informs government decision. Government takes decision in the best interest of the country, but what we see on the superficial level are just things that we don't understand. So I now come to appreciate the government more, appreciate policy, appreciate brief, and then strategic move on how to address issues.
So how has this experience affected your person and especially your career?
It has significantly affected my person because I have become more tolerant to deal with people. My outlook is broader. And my work, which I do across Africa, again, it has really given me opportunity. I'm currently working in Angola, working in Mozambique, working in Uganda. And then it made me to engage better with the governments of those countries. Because when I tell them, giving them the strategic move, giving them the policy options and implementation strategies, it made my work very easy. And the topic we researched when we were at the National Institute was a topic that was very dear to my mind, strengthening local governance. We know that a majority of the problems in this country will be addressed if we can strengthen local governance, if we can empower the local communities to take charge of their responsibility. And it is the failure of local governance. That is why a new movement is coming up now, trying to say that democracy does not work in Africa. Because democracy we are looking at now is democracy of federal government. We need democracy at the local level. We need to strengthen the local communities to be able to take decisions.
So can you tell us what's your principle about life?
My principle about life is that I decide what I want to do, and while I'm deciding what I want to do, I decide what I will not do.
Wow.
And in deciding what I will not do, I know the direction I want to face. I set goals for myself, and when I achieve the goal, I celebrate. When I don't achieve the goal, I recalibrate my strategy. So it has really helped me to be able to focus. And these are things I learned in my years in certification, in my years in working with my mentors. I work with the President of African Development Bank, Dr. Akim Adesina, is one of my mentors. The former Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, another mentor. And my mentor in the ITC ILO, Cheryl, she's a Canadian lady who taught me quite a number of things. And again, it's shaped the way I reason and the way I get my job done.
Wow. So you being a member of the National Institute, which is termed MNI, what is your take on it that it's seen as an elitist group?
HANI is not an elitist group. HANI is just an association that protects the interests of members and for a better society. HANI is an association that takes the interests of the country beyond any other interest. But unfortunately, if you are not in it, you are not in it. So those who are outside think it is an elitist group. It's not an elitist group, because ANI takes the interest of the country above any other interest and protect its members. That is one thing I've seen in ANI. And the bond, the fellowship, there's no time when I go on international trips, when people see the badge, especially ANI members who did not wear their badge, they will say it becomes a brotherhood badge, and then it gives us opportunity to be able to trust one another, to be able to work together, and to be able to do business together.
Talking about the association, how do you think it has impacted on the Institute?
The association is impacting on the Institute because there is continuous dialogue between the management and the leadership of the association. You know, 44, 45 years in the life of any association, there will be ups and down period. There will be different leadership with different styles. So we believe that with the current leadership of the Alumni Association of the National Institute, a new reform is taking place. A whole lot of things are taking place. Electronic voting is going to come up, and more members will be involved in it. And a major thing that the Alumni Association leadership has been doing that really excited me is going out of their way to look for the senior citizens, those who are in Sec 1, Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4. Yesterday they visited, or day before they visited, General Jeremiah Oseni, a member of Sec 3. So this is an opportunity for them to know that nobody is leaving them behind, nobody is forgetting about them, and building a better society. You cannot build a better society if you don't take care of the senior citizens. And you can't build a better society if you don't take care of the junior citizens, the younger ones that are coming. So ANI is already doing this, and we see this opportunity that we continue to make the Institute to be better, and we make the association to be better.
Okay. Still on the association, we have NIPSS Policy TV, which is a brainchild of the DG. And how do you think that the association can be involved with this?
I am not an executive of the association, but I believe a closer interaction between the management and the association will make the TV to be better. You see, 1001 studies have been conducted in NIPSS, policy studies. These policy studies are not seen in practice. NIPSS Policy TV, we showcase all these things. The Alumni Association needs to support the TV to be able to put to the fore the contribution of the alumni members in policy space, the studies that have been conducted, because these alumni associations are in different spheres of life, and they should be able to see what study has been conducted in NIPSS that will make Nigeria to be better. And the Policy TV is an opportunity for us to be able to move this country forward. Any country that will move forward, its policies must be right. And this is a major issue for the Policy TV.
During your sojourn here on the Institute, we know that it is 10 whole months. How were you able to cope with the demand of family life, your commitment here on the Institute, and then your job?
Yes, you see, my first encounter with the Institute, I think it was around 1990, when I was working with the former Minister of Petroleum, who was here. So I was always coming. That time there were no online banking. I was always bringing check for him to sign.
Wow.
But I knew what the Institute was doing that time. So when I was coming, I prepared my mind that, look, my family members will be visiting. The accommodation was conducive enough. Then my staff were bringing documents to me, and we work remotely. It was a very good thing. Then again, I thank my wife, who was always coming around to encourage me. Because when I told her that if I get tired midway, I will run away, he said, there's nothing you have done that you didn't finish. Because you look at it, the first 3 months was tough. But immediately we started the travels and everything, it became very relaxed. Then opportunities were coming to stop at home and stop in the office to see things done. But it was a nice experience. It was a sacrifice well made.
So in regards to that as well, how do you unwind? How do you make time to ease off?
The sporting activity in the National Institute is fantastic. It was at the National Institute that I improved my golf scheme, and then I became a golfer. Then the sporting activity. Immediately we left the Institute, we didn't stop again, because we now discovered that it is for our benefit, not just a question of socializing.
Okay. So can you tell us, what were your highs and lows during those moments?
The high point of the study was our travels. We were in the United Arab Emirates, we were in Uganda, and then we visited Kaduna and Plateau State. During these studies, we were able to see issues and perspectives that fed into what we were researching. But the low point, the lowest point was when we came back from the institutional visit. And our study group had sleepless nights. We wrote our report. And when we made our presentation, they told us, one directing staff told us that it's like we didn't go to anywhere, that we wrote those reports without visiting the institution. And we felt bad because our directing staff were there. We were demoralized, but we thank the DG who came to encourage us and the director of studies who came to encourage us that we should not worry, that we should do better. Incidentally, we did better, and then our study group now came on top when we were making other presentations. So it really challenged us to be able to do better, and then we learned patience, tolerance, and ability to accommodate diverse opinions.
Okay. So I know that from time to time you do come to the Institute to do one or two things. What would you like the Institute to do differently?
What the Institute should do differently is encouraging more alumni to come around. When they come around, they will see things in perspective, they will reflect again. And the Institute should be able to sponsor some studies where scholars will come and sit down at the Institute and research topic, not regular courses. We are looking at possibilities of research that will make Nigeria better, not just a question of policy, leadership, and strategy course or senior executive course. Then we need to be able to bring more policymakers, opinion leaders to come and have retreat here so that we can have like the Kuru Declaration, so that we'll be able to say this is the position that has been taken at this institute, because it will give us opportunity to build a better society, especially now issues that are relating to democracy, issues that are relating to good governance.
Lastly, what is your advice to the youths out there who are looking up to people like you or who would want to become like you?
The advice to the youth is that they need to be focused. We need everything that is good comes with sacrifice. They need to be prepared for sacrifice. They don't need to leave the country. Nigeria is still the best country to make it. And this thing we are seeing that people are going to Canada, they are going to US, they are going to UK. It has happened before. In 1982-83, Andrew was moving away. But we see those who went away that time, they came back now. And came back along the line and discovered that Nigeria is better. The youth should be able to refocus their energy and see what they can do in this climate.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Ogidong. It was such an exciting time having you to come and chat with us on Alumni Chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
This is the Much We Can Take on Alumni Chat today. I am Chana Ejoga. Stay with us, more to come.
Keep watching.
Keep watching. Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Experts say the time for action on irrigation development is now. Nigeria's leaders must make this a priority to ensure food security. With the right policies, interventions, and investments in place, vast irrigation infrastructure projects can get off the drawing board and into the fields. Nigeria's farmers have waited long enough for access to water resources that will help their crops and communities thrive. So, more efforts should be directed towards addressing these vital areas mentioned to achieve optimal irrigation and drainage farming system by the year 2030. That is our package for today. Thank you for your time. I am Lydia Odijiochi. God bless Nigeria.